All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Tacobout Live with Frank and Manny here in Taco Tuesday in Del Rio, Texas. Good morning, brother.
What's up, bro?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Got my coffee going on this morning, man.
We're all good. We had coffee and tacos. Didn't want to be chewing in front of you too much, but I still got some stuck between my teeth, man.
It's all right, bro. It's all right, man. I mean, that's the way. That's the way life in South Texas, bro, with Texas, and so we still got still got a lot going on, man. Want to give a special shout out for HTX Renegade Radio. Last week they had us on, and I want to say thank you so much for us to Simple Man and TDC for having us on there. Very informative, very good show. Those guys, man, doing a good job over there in the Houston area. And sad to say, Frank, they're kind of suffering the same issues that we're suffering over here, not as border wise, but as far as their representative goes that they got over there, Dan Crenshaw, man, the Rhino over there, dude, and we got one down here as well.
Yeah, right now it's. I think it's been made aware to people, bro. People are realizing that there are really two parties within the Republican Party.
Right.
You could say the same for the Democrat Party. You got your socialists, hardcore socialists that are running the party over there right now, and then you got your just everyday American that for the most part doesn't agree with the hard left policies of those in charge of the Democrat Party right now, like Biden, etc.
Yeah.
But in the Republican Party, we certainly have an establishment presence that's by its nose taking the Republican Party the path of globalists. And as I've said it before, it's in danger of becoming the globalist owned party with people like Dan Crenshaw, who's with the World Economic Forum, people like Tony Gonzalez, who's with George Soros,
Right.
and all these elected officials. And the reason, we slam on our Republican friends, well, not so much friends, but and the Republican Party, bro, is that those people that are in charge of it are not our friends. They are not, friends of America with the decisions they're making. And so, yeah, a lot of what's happening, you can blame Biden for it, but we just had complacent people for a while now that have been elected, and they just want to keep getting reelected. One of the key races that's going on right now in Texas, you got the land commissioner, Dr. Tim Wesley is the man.
Yeah.
We're hoping we'll pull that out. And then you've got the attorney general's race between Paxton and George W. Bush.
Yeah. Bush, another Rhino, man.
Another globalist. And
globalist, yeah.
we already, I saw an article over the weekend, Manny, where actually the Bush name is hurting him.
Yeah.
That was the gist of the article. There's a runoff for what is it? I think it's a comptroller.
Mm-hmm.
With there's a man and a woman that are running. Sad to say, bro, but when you look at a race and all you know is that there was a controversy involved with that. That's the woman that posed on the pump jack.
Oh yeah.
And then of course at the Senate level, we've got that race in Senate District 24 with Raul Reyes and our former State Senator Pete Flores. And the reason, of course, that's of interest to us is because we know Raul. He's a friend.
Yeah.
He's a brother in Christ. I was his campaign manager when he ran for Congress here in District 23. And we know very much the fight that he is up for, that he is in, and it's against the establishment giant. Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, has endorsed Pete Flores and a whole bunch of other rhinos in the rhino herd. And so, look, folks, it is a fight. And I was at an event in Hondo this past week, Manny, where I spoke with people individually, with smaller groups of people, and then with the audience in general.
Right.
And the sentiment is that people get it. They understand that they've been infiltrated in the Republican Party. It's globalists. It's greedy people. It's people that have and are willing to continue selling out America.
Yeah.
And all for the love of money, man. And so, hey, look, you're going to get it straight here. You're going to get the facts. You're going to get, of course, our viewpoint. The other thing, real quick, there's going to be a runoff for the mayoral race here in Del Rio. And we have our friend and former Border Patrol, Deputy Patrol Agent in charge of Del Rio Station, former Assistant Chief Patrol Agent.
Part of Raider Nation. I had to throw that
Oh,
in.
you had to throw that in, bro. Part of Raider Nation. And Virgil Armstrong, folks. And I called the city secretary this past week, and so the city council has to convene. They've got to come up with the final, the runoff date for the mayoral race here in Del Rio, and I hope and pray that people will get behind Virgil, man. I mean, I full disclosure, I spoke with Mr. Ariola as well, the other runoff candidate, and I just. I know Virgil. I've worked with him. He was my boss. I know his work ethic. I know his expertise. He's handled budgets. He's worked, putting initiatives together, putting work teams together, setting out, goals and benchmarks, and
Served this country as a Marine, as well. So very familiar with and very comfortable with border security, which a lot of people don't realize, Frank, that the mayors have a hand in border security. And so we've seen it in the past and whatnot. And real quick, I want to jump back to you're over there in Hondo, and you're saying people are getting it, and I pray that they are. But what I also pray is that it translates into votes. You know what I mean? Because the sad thing is that I generally vote Republican. I don't identify with party basically, but I generally vote Republican because of their platform. But I go stand behind true conservatives, whether they're independent or Republican. I'll never vote Democrat. But one of the hard realities, Frank, is that sad to say, a lot of conservatives and Republicans don't get out there and vote, man. I mean, we were talking about it earlier that you've talked to a lot of registered voters. I've talked to a lot of registered voters, and they don't get out there, man.
Yeah, they don't. And look, folks, it's man, it seems like we've been beating this drum here for a while now, man. But just people need to get involved, whether it's voting as elected as candidates,
right?
Getting involved. When I was the chairman here in Valverde, I try to get people involved. We needed precinct chairs, we needed committee chairpersons, etc. People know that. People know that. In the Border Patrol put work teams together, and it's always about getting people involved, because look, God has given you talents and abilities. He's given you a mission in life.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, if you're a husband or a wife, if you're a parent, as a child, you certainly have familial, relational responsibilities. Foremost God, your family, but then your community as well, folks, and people just need to get involved, and otherwise our nation and our community life suffers, because you have something to offer. You have something to bring to the table. It doesn't have to be a lifelong commitment. It doesn't have to be a 24/7 commitment per se. As far as getting involved in your community, but give in of the time and treasure and toil that you can, and I think, Manny, as we work together, and as people contribute of their God-given attributes, it makes for a better community. It makes for a better place to live.
It does, and I was also going to touch upon as well that sometimes, Frank, I hear the excuse, well, why should I vote? My vote doesn't matter. I mean, look at what happened with during the this last presidential election. Folks, that's a narrative that the left wants you to believe. At the local level, the state level, your vote. Now I'm not going to say that there isn't corruption. There is. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but I believe there is corruption within the election process and the election system. However, we need to still get out there and vote. We still need to get out there and make our voices heard. The more that we are seen, the more that we are heard. And the reality is, we look at the left. Right, we look at the Democratic Party. We look at these leftist liberals. They're the ones who are out there crying. I'm not saying we get out there and cry like them, and stoop to their levels. But what they're doing is they're very, very committed. They're very committed, and they're throwing everything that they can at the wall, even if it's unconstitutional. And that's what's amazing to me. I mean, Biden has come out several times and has even commented, I don't know if this is constitutional or not, but they're throwing everything they can at the wall to see if it sticks, right? Because eventually, people either they accept it as normal, that this is the way things are going to be, or they just accept defeat, and sadly to say, sometimes we get a lot of compromise that's happening, especially within the Republican Party right now with a lot of these RINOs, but the leftists and the liberals, brother, they're just throwing everything at the wall right now.
Well, and I think pretty sure it was at the show with the guys from HTX Renegade out in Houston. There is a sense of relentlessness. These people are relentless.
Yeah.
They just don't stop, folks. They don't stop, and we got to get in there. That's where the Word of God says, grow not weary in doing well, and grow not weary in doing good. Just you got to stay in the fight. Remember that story of Moses, as he watched over the battle of Israel, and his hands were lifted up. Israel would be winning. He'd grow tired, and Israel would start suffering. And so, we've got to get in together. That's a beautiful story too of friendship, of having people alongside you. And so, look, folks, we're in this together. We're here to bring you, what we can from our experience, from our conversations, our networking, what we're seeing on the ground. Certainly, there's other folks that are involved with that. And I know you said you were going to bring it up earlier. We got friends throughout this state, border region, and we got some footage for you that's going to be put up here in a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit of what's been going on. Another thing that, just real quick before I forget, out of Hondo, man, there's a sentiment out there, Manny, definitely. When I was talking about it earlier, there's an awakening. There's a stirring. Part of it is from frustration, from anger, from almost a sense of also as well of desperate desolation as people look at what's happening to our country.
Right.
And so that's why I say, grow not weary in doing well. And certainly part of that is praying, seeking God's face, getting into His Word, and spending time alone with Him, so that you're energized, and then you can come out and you can energize others. Sometimes, you don't know what people are going through. All they need is for you to be their light, to be light in their darkness. And so that's why we got to be charged up like batteries all the time, so that we can spread that light that comes from God. And look, he calls us children of light.
That's right, yeah.
And so get plugged in, get charged up,
Yep. Be the salt and light of the earth. Yeah. And I heard a brother, a friend of mine years ago. He said, the Bible tells us and calls us to be salt and light of the earth. He said, hey, salt irritates.
It does. Yeah.
I mean, I know what he's talking about is about flavor and stuff like that, but the reality, preservation. But it also irritates as well. And I'm not saying get out there in the faces of people and resort to violence and some of these tactics that the left are using. Going to Chief Justice's house, homes, and protesting and yelling and all these other kinds of things. No, I mean, but we have a system in place, but we got a lot of stuff going on here on the border. Right now with the word going out that Title 42 is going to be lifted here pretty soon. Agents have been calling me, been texting me. Sources from other agencies as well been texting me and letting me know, that, hey, folks, this is a reality. This is a reality of what is happening what's happening over here. Just the other day, we had over 250 within 2 hours, I believe. There in Eagle Pass, across the river. We got some video footage of that we're going to put up here a little bit later as well. And then now we have these mega processing centers that are being put up that RINO Tony Gonzalez was a part of as well. Folks, all this does is encourage illegal immigration. And what this also shows is that there is no intent. There's no intent on securing this border from Democrats, especially the Biden administration. We know that they're not concerned about securing the border, but it also shows that you have people in place over here, such as Tony Gonzalez and other RINOs like him, that have no intention on securing the borders. Yet, Frank, they come over here to the border. They say this has to stop, but then they turn around and they end up supporting NGOs, end up supporting these south-sided processing centers that are being put up now in Eagle Pass and in Carrizo Springs as well. We got it's a sham what these guys are doing.
It's a sham, bro, and kind of dovetails into the conversation here. What I got here, Manny, is it's a list, and it's called Tony Sins. But what it is, it's a record, or it's a bullet point list of the case against Tony. And so what we're going to be doing, folks, I'm working on the website to have a portion there, a page, a link that's going to detail, why we're building a case, why I'm running for Congress against Tony Gonzalez. And one of the things you just said, of course, he's running around on the news shows and talking to people, trying to come off as some kind of, border security, hawk. But we all know that, he is in bed with the non-government organizations.
Right.
And he, along with Senator Cornyn, went to Henry Cuellar down in Laredo and Senator Sinema out of Arizona, and they floated legislation. They proposed a bill that would build at least 4 asylum mega processing centers. And so you're right to say that, Tony Gonzalez had a hand in this. He wanted these mega processing centers to be put up. That's what he was willing to fund. That's what him and Cornyn proposed in legislation. And so now it's coming to fruition right before your eyes. The things that your congressman with 823 miles of border wanted was for these centers to be built in his district, as well as across the border. And so he's got them popping up, all right. Now the word is, Manny, that each sector has been tasked, or each sector will be getting one of these combined or central processing centers.
Sad to say, we know some people who are in charge of this, man, and it's because you talk to the average agent, Frank, you talk to the average, officer working out there, they don't want any of these processing centers, and what's sad to say is that these processing centers, folks, we want you to understand this, these processing centers that are being put up, they're huge. They're one in Eagle Pass is 500 man. I think the one in Carrizo Springs is going to be bigger, and $6 million a week, 144 million, I think, a year annually, right? Is what they're going to be costing. But folks, they're not setting them up to process people to be removed. Yeah. That's the whole point of this. This is why I'm so angry about it, because they're being set up to process people to be released into the United States. Del Rio sector alone, folks, is on task, on target. It's estimated that they're going to be releasing over 600,000 illegal aliens by the end of the fiscal year, and that's without Title 42 being lifted.
Yep.
So, folks, that's 500,000. I mean, more than 500,000 illegal aliens not being returned, not being arrested and put in jail, but being released. Over 600,000 by the end of the fiscal year.
And what we know is this, man. Title 42, folks, applies to the pandemic. It applies to only to Mexicans, Guatemalans, and Hondurans. So those folks.
A lot of them are releasing now.
The word's coming out. There have been sectors that have been releasing these people now for a while, and part of it goes to DHS. It goes to DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who is working. He is the cabinet member for Biden and the people that control Biden. But let's not forget this about Title 42. While it applies to the pandemic, Manny, we know, and so does the Centers for Disease Control, and so do agents and personnel that are working with these illegal aliens as they come across between the ports of entry, violating 8 U.S.C. 1325. That's why they're illegal. That they are carrying other deadly diseases, bro. It's not just the bug of 2020, folks, that they're carrying. They're seeing variants, strains of stuff like HIV. Last year we had, monkeypox,
Dengue fever, that still surprises the heck out of me, man. Dengue fever, I mean, we don't even deal with that. We don't have doctors in the United States that deal with dengue fever.
Tuberculosis is
making a
rampant.
comeback,
Sexually transmitted diseases, gonorrhea, syphilis, etc., folks. Look, people need to wake up. The fallout from this, Manny, look, they're seeing the images from the border, but what you're not seeing, people, is when your communities will have to deal with the fallout, the medical fallout, the social integration aspect of this, if there's even any assimilation integration,
Yeah,
the fallout from that.
And the reality is illegal aliens don't integrate.
Yeah, part of it, they want to avoid contact, especially with authority, with law enforcement, et cetera. But so this is the fallout, folks, and I can already see the haters and the ragers, talking about xenophobia, whatever. We're talking about public safety. We're talking about community health. We're talking about the health and well-being and the future of our children. And every parent, every leader, every community has a right, an expectation, an obligation to be concerned about the lifestyle of the quality of life, the quality of life of their families and their community.
Well, look what's happening right now. We'll go down to the big story that's happening right now is this baby formula shortage, right? I mean, but yet we see pallets of baby formula coming down to these for these illegal aliens into these NGOs. El Paso sector in El Paso, there's a huge warehouse that's like a Sam's basically. I'm not trying to promote Sam's or anything like that, but it's basically like a warehouse filled with stuff that's only for illegal aliens, right? And children. No, praise the Lord. I want to help children. I think there are some of the innocent victims in here, especially because of the sex trafficking and human trafficking and whatnot. But the reality is too, folks, is that this is at the basic level, the lowest level is it affects us. It affects our economic issues as well as, and then we see all this with the baby formula going on as well, and every day all these supplies come into the stations. Now we're going to have these mega processing centers, and we got some pictures I want to put up as well, and you should see some of the storage places, Frank, that they're going to be keeping a lot of these supplies, for these illegal aliens that, we have, underprivileged families around this area. We have, we don't have too much homeless here in Del Rio, but there's some people that are affected by the economy here. There are some kids who need food. There are kids who need clothes, but yet we have all this going for people who aren't even citizens. But according to the Biden administration and these NGOs, they're refugees or they're just basically undocumented Americans. That's ridiculous.
That's
man.
what they call them. And the reality is, Manny, look, geez. Well, where do you even begin with? Real quick, somebody said I just heard Cornyn's name. Well, the reason we mentioned Cornyn's name is him and Tony Gonzalez, along with two Democrats, Cuellar and Sinema, proposed at least four asylum mega processing centers, at least four. The two in Del Rio sector, 144 million per year. The Donna facility, folks, down in South Texas, Donna facility, that's been up for a while now, is running about 19 million a month.
Wow.
A month, people. To feed, to process, to clothe, to take care of these people as they're going through, and that's part of it. The other part of it, Manny, is that we have the Biden administration pushing for this, and you can certainly put the blame on Biden and through his secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. I have a picture here. It says that 46 House Republicans call on Mayorkas to resign over the complete failure to lead DHS. 46 Republicans, bro,
wow,
that wanted him to resign. Now, this is from February, and there was a letter that went out, and it has a signature of this 46 House Republicans that asked Mayorkas to resign back in February. Guess whose name was not on that letter? Who did not sign the letter? Yeah.
Does it rhyme with Tony Gonzalez?
Yeah, the guy that only, he only has 823 miles on the border. He only has, 3 border patrol sectors in his district. He only has, these, mega processing centers. They're going to funnel through, hundreds of thousands of people through the Del Rio sector, through the Big Bend and El Paso sectors. These are the sectors that are in his district. Yep. And he did not sign the letter for Mayorkas to resign. Why? because he's in bed with the NGOs and he's in bed with George Soros, and he doesn't want it to stop.
And now a lot of these House Republicans, like Chip Roy the other day, was calling for that as soon as we pray that the Republicans and conservatives get in there and have the majority, that they're going to call for Mayorkas impeachment.
Yes.
And Gorkas just the other day just came out also and said that that Mayorkas as well as his cronies should be indicted, for criminal furthering illegal immigration, which is a crime. Furthering illegal immigration into the United States is a crime. And the sad thing to say, Frank, is that this Biden administration has basically legalized, in a sense, alien smuggling.
And that's why, bro, I've said it, if I get into office as your congressman in this district, and not just for this district, not just for Texas, but for America and for the future of our children, the future of our homeland, our way of life, bro, I would definitely push. I mean, if they don't float it, I'll float it, legislation to impeach Mayorkas and Biden himself.
Yeah.
I mean, and the case is being made. Yeah, I was looking at some stuff that Chip Roy has put out, interesting stuff, and I would definitely work with other America First, like-minded candidates out there that want to put Texans first, want to put the people of Texas first, and we're not against immigration. We just need legal immigration. And honestly, bro, the floodgates have been open so bad. Our immigration, asylum, and process is going to be bogged down. If these people even show up, you related that story. The facts that you had found out about, that these people are showing up at ICE stations across the country, but they're just turning in their cell phones.
Yeah, and now they're finding those phones, those same smartphones, in trash cans, bro.
Yeah.
And so these legal agents are getting these smartphones, right, so that the government could track them.
Yeah.
And these ankle monitors, and now they're finding them in trash cans.
Yeah, and so this is a massive betrayal, and it's a massive look. They're using our tax dollars, Manny. Hundreds of millions, billions. Tony Gonzalez, another thing to add to the list here, Tony sins, and this is just basic stuff, where we haven't even put in his voting record.
Yeah.
We're doing the research to go in to look for at every bill that he sponsored, co-sponsored, and voted for, and we know that he was one of the Republicans that voted for the $40 billion package to Ukraine. Yep. There were 57 Republicans that voted against it. Yep. Had I been in office as an independent, I would have voted against that as well.
Yep, Crenshaw voted for it. Sad to say, Senator Ted Cruz voted for it. We're always I was disappointed in that.
Yeah, there were some disappointments. Just go look at the people that did not vote for it, and you'll see that they're America First. Yeah, they're America First, Texas First. Representatives, and besides, man, I mean, it also shows that either they don't know, or they're just turning a blind eye to the truth about the Ukraine, bro.
Yeah.
Look, there's a story that's being put out there by the same media that pushed the results of November 2020, the same media that pushed the bug of 2020. Folks, it's the same media that wants you to intake and digest their take on the Ukraine and Russia. Right. And look, you're dealing with corrupt officials here. Everybody knows, or people should know, that the president of Ukraine is not the angel that he's been portrayed to be. But all it took, Manny, was just throwing images out there, nice looking pictures, heroic looking pictures, and then a story to go with it, because the left, progressives, communists know that they can play. If they can play on your emotions, yep. They've opened that doorway to your heart and your mind. That's why the Word of God says to guard your heart and your mind.
Yeah.
To guard it, and so, what are the portals? The emotion is a doorway to your heart, to your mind, and so they can play on your emotions, and then they give you lies that have been wrapped in truth. You've ingested that poison pill, yep. and it now starts to work in your system, in your thinking, in your analysis of situation. It clouds you, it blinds you, it darkens common sense, and it wars against the Spirit of God that's inside of you, folks. So that's why you need to be careful about this and look at everything through the eyes of the Word yep. of God, and use critical thinking. God gave us critical thinking for a reason. But that's also part of it, bro. Is that this $40 billion package, 350 million of that goes to refugee resettlement. And so, Tony Gonzalez was over there August of last year, greasing the skids, getting everything ready for this mass influx. We've also found out about the forward operating processing centers that have been set up, probably more than likely in conjunction with the UN. Alejandro Mayorkas went down to Panama and toured the facility. It's not as big as the one I see you got it queued up. Let's show you the one that Manny has queued up. But something similar to this, folks, has been set up in Panama. Rumors are also they're down in Peru, other parts of South America. So we're definitely, trying to research that. But
this is here at Carrizo Springs, just a couple hours down the road here from us. But look at that massive facility, man.
It's a massive facility, and of course we want to give due credit to Jesse Perales.
Yeah.
Jesse Perales is a person that got us this video footage, and of course, he had some issues with law enforcement, but praise God, Jesse Perales knows what he's doing.
Look at that.
But this is a massive facility that you are seeing here, folks. Hundreds of millions of dollars going out throughout the country for facilities such as this. The ones in Del Rio sector, Carrizo Springs is a part of Del Rio sector. Carrizo Springs and Eagle Pass, the two in this sector will cost $144 billion a year.
This is insane.
And so, but the only thing is, we need to clarify, bro, because Manny, there's a processing facility in Eagle Pass South.
Right.
Eagle Pass South. So I would like to get to the roots of that and find out if this is an NGO facility or it's actually the DHS facility.
Well, the word I got, the south side of one at Eagle Pass, the one that we saw over
131.
there. Yeah, 131 is a DHS
Yeah,
facility.
that's DHS, but I'm referring specifically to that one down in Carrizo Springs.
Oh, in Carrizo Springs. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
But we'll put some feelers out. We'll go to find out. But either way, look, whether it's a taxpayer dollars going directly to DHS or taxpayer dollars going to HHS, Health and Human Services, or ICE, that then goes into contracts to the NGOs, it's still your money. It's still our money.
Still our money.
It's still our taxpayer dollar.
Taxpayer dollars. The taxpayer, because it's sad to say that there's only I think it's less than a little over 50% of Americans actually pay taxes.
Yeah.
And so, folks, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money going to illegal aliens, going out to the Ukraine. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars, and I think we can't even fathom. I was looking at some pictures the other day, Frank, of how a stack of $1 billion, and that's like waist high, to me, on a few pallets. But imagine 60 billion. I mean, 50, and then 144 million. This is insane. I got some pictures I want to pull up here as well of the facility where the Eagle Pass. And this is pretty amazing. Look at that storage facility there, right? I mean, that's a huge storage facility, and that's going to, supplies. I think they got, there's some cages. Look at those cages, So under, remember, where's AOC crying about, these cages? I can't say that children are going to be put in there. That look, to me, that looks like some type of holding area.
Like a storage.
Like a storage area, yeah.
Property or something.
Exactly. This looks like where they can have children, or juveniles, separate, but look, it's huge. Oh, and then here's a place where with the AstroTurf on it, where they can go out and have some recreation time and things like that. And folks, this is it's incredible what's happening here in this area in regards to these facilities, because it's costing the taxpayers all kinds of money. And then the reality, again, I'm going to just repeat it, is that these processing centers, Frank, are not being put up to return anybody to their country of origin, to not deport anyone. They're being set up to further the entrance of illegal aliens into the United States.
And as I'm looking at the comments here, hey, Jesse, thanks for chiming in. Jesse Perales, who actually did the filming, he says the security guards had patches that said DHS.
Wow.
Down there
Wow.
in Eagle Pass,
Wow.
in Carrizo Springs. And let's give credit where credit is due. Those images, this images that you're showing right now.
Oh, yeah.
We got to source them. They were provided to another journalist,
Ali Bradley.
Ali Bradley. So
Yeah.
that's who they were provided to. And so We want to give due credit to Ms. Bradley because we don't want her doing to us what she did to the Eagle Pass news leader down in Eagle Pass. She actually filed plagiarism against them. They took one of her stories. They didn't give her credit for it, and so she called them out, and they had to, rightfully so, source a story to her. And so Ms. Bradley is, I believe, from up in the Northwest, and she's been down the border and been reporting on this as well. And that's good that we have, other people down here, folks. People like her who was provided these images from internal sources. Also, and of course, DHS is going to be all over that.
Yeah, and the sad thing is too is that I was reading one of her posts the other day as well, and actually yesterday, and because shortly after these over 150 plus crossed over, from Piedras into Eagle Pass, and she took some pictures of, or some pictures were sent to her about the concertina wire that had got set up overnight, that Governor Abbott had set up out there, and apparently she has one of her sources, well, is this going to prevent anything? And he says, no, it's not going to do it. It's not going to do a darn thing. All it's going to do is just change the approach, and that's the reality, folks. We have these carriers, that are over there on the river in Eagle Pass, those cargo carriers, right?
Yeah.
And then we have some cyclone fence that's along the river, concertina wire along the river. But if you go up to the river, and I think General Flynn was like shocked when he saw it, right, when we took him right to the river, and you from a distance you can see the concertina wire, but then when you walk to it, there's gaps in it, right? And all it does is land, and then when there's lights, right, for them to
make it safely
safer across the river, and so there's gaps there, landings for the illegal aliens to come through, so that they don't get attached to the concertina wire or anything like that. Which we don't want anybody to get hurt, but the reality is it's not doing anything. It's not preventing any crossing.
Well, and when we were down there, Manny, and I did take a picture of it. We didn't do any lives. We were on a bit of a whirlwind tour with General Flynn down there, but there was a rescue that was taking place. Yeah. So, folks, if you've seen the river bridge, any of these bridges, they're going to have support structures, support columns made out of cement. And so what had transpired is we just had a bunch of heavy rain in the area, and what happens with the rain is you get all this bamboo. It's a river cane, carrizo, a river cane that gets washed out. The dry ones, the broken ones, they wash down river, and so they accumulate up against these columns.
Right.
And so there were about 4 or 5. It looked like a woman and several children. Yeah. That were on top of this cane as it was up against this column. Obviously, very dangerous. A lot of rain. The river level was high. The water was just streaming across. Normally, it's kind of a clear blue green color, very muddy brown because it's just washing sediment down river. They were in a very precarious situation. We saw Mexican military and law enforcement, gathering on their side, and of course we had National Guard, Border Patrol. I think there may have been a DPS trooper or 2 down there, and then we had seen Border Patrol riverine units preparing the airboats to go down there and rescue. So, all this stuff, folks, it's all green light. You were talking about the spotlights that Governor Abbott set up. It's been green lighted from Biden, green lighted by the administration, DHS Mayorkas, Tony Gonzalez doing everything he can to make the pipelines bigger. Of course, behind the scenes, the non-government organizations, globalists, Soros, all these shadowy groups, the UN, etc. Yeah. And so it's all a perfect storm of honestly, of danger, of death, and of desecration to our sovereignty as a nation.
Yep, and we're locally here we're also getting reports that now there's illegal aliens that have been breaking into homes and property locally, within the city limits. I mean, before it was just mostly with the ranchers and whatnot, and talking to a lot of ranchers. They're basically prisoners on their own property because if they leave, once they leave the property, illegal aliens break in. And sad to say that and I was in the patrol, Frank, and I'm sure it was, with you as well. Even local crossings, local illegal aliens, illegal aliens are crossing locally. I mean, that within the city limits would try to avoid apprehension. I mean, I chased a lot of people through downtown Eagle Pass. Had to position myself in strategic locations, because they were trying to avoid apprehension. But no more. Look at this video here, real quick. This is here in Eagle Pass, down the road in Eagle Pass, over I think 150 plus crossing the river. No cause or concern for apprehension, because they're not going to be apprehended.
Yeah, they're
right?
not trying to hide or anything like that. Just plain, middle of the day or broad daylight.
Yeah, broad daylight, and which generally this doesn't happen, in the daylight. Usually it's like early morning, in the evening, at night. They're trying to avoid apprehension, and then there's there's concertina wire all along the riverbank there. So it looks like, there's something there to try to prevent illegal alien crossing, but as we can see in the video, they're not even concerned about that, because the reality is there's a gap.
A landing, what we call a landing, where they would land, and if you're looking at this from the Mexican side, it's very obvious. You can see your target destination on the U.S. side.
Yeah.
As you look at those images, I mean, I don't know how clearly you can see, but there's a takeoff, a launching point on the Mexican side. It's all beaten down,
right.
Because of it's just beaten down from human traffic.
Right.
And they'll come across. It's plain as day where they have to go. And probably there's not any concertina wire to that point.
Right.
But even if there is, there is part of the wall that was built, prior to Obama. Even.
Right.
Some of the Bush fence up there.
But too, where they're crossing at is shallow.
Yeah.
So I mean, where this other concertina wire is, as well as along the deep areas of the Rio Grande River, because the aliens, they cross in the shallow areas. That's why that landing is so big on the Mexican side, because that's a common crossing area. So you can see that it's pretty shallow for them. I mean, yeah, it's waist deep, but when the water level is down, it's actually about thigh high. And so they can cross easily.
Easily cross over, and even if there's infrastructure, there's folks. This is what I was trying to say is, right now the way that the process, the dynamics at work here is, there is no need for them to hide. There is no need for them to try to, avoid detection. They want to be detected. They want to be caught. They want to be processed, because they know they're going to be released. And we got some friends. I saw a good friend of ours here, Wyatt Watson, is on. Hey, Wyatt, Ray, shout out to you guys.
What you guys do, man.
These are great Texans that are out there, on their part of the river, doing what they can to repel the invasion, and so we're going to be. I had a nice conversation with them yesterday. We're going to be bringing you some information about these guys and what they're doing as American Texan patriots, in conjunction with some like-minded landowners on the Rio Grande River, just upriver from Eagle Pass. That'll be some very interesting, very really inspiring news that we want to put out to you guys. But thanks, Wyatt and Ray, for jumping on and watching what we're doing. It's definitely, Manny, it's a lot of different moving parts. And one thing that we need to continue to remember is that, we have processes in place.
Yeah.
Part of it certainly is the legislative process. And that's why we need to elect the right people to office. But as we look at these different things that are happening, we need to come up with solutions. One of the things that I would do, bro, if I'm elected to Congress right off the bat, is go look at the funding for these NGOs. Yeah. Go look at the way that these contracts are given. We know that they're no-bid contracts. We know that the Inspector General of DHS has already tagged Endeavors, which is a massive NGO in San Antonio. That's also the home of Tony Gonzalez. He has an office inside an Endeavors facility. So they've already been tagged for $17 million that were issued to them by ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, that wasn't used for the purpose it was intended to be used for. Wow. So where's the money? And so that's one of the first things I would do, is of course look to remove, impeach Mayorkas, look to remove, impeach Biden. Get after these NGOs and look at the source of the funding. I'd also want to find out, what exactly is our government, what exactly are our government officials appointed officials and hired employees in the form of Border Patrol agents and DHS personnel, ICE, other DHS and State Department personnel that are forward deployed to places like Panama, where Mayorkas went and visited a facility where they're already doing initial intaking,
Wow.
initial process.
Right, with the UN and I think with the World Health Organization, right, with the WHO?
Different globalists, anti-America, organizations.
Yeah.
And I would certainly, look into that forward operating aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
Heck, man, maybe even go on a fact-finding mission. To
And
find out.
at least as well in this area, in this district, rescind and revoke those for temporarily those licenses that those NGOs have, so at least you can vet them. Real quick, a comment on our Talk About It Live page. They want to know if the land that the illegal aliens were stepping on was private or government land on the U.S. side. At that point, once they hit our side, for a little bit, it's government land up until a certain point, and then, but that's the road there where the Constantine, where there used to be public access. In the sense where people would go fishing there, citizens would go fishing, they would go swimming. Right now the only access they have where they need to go past, I think, is the boat landing where they can go and set their boats in. But who wants to now, right? I mean, who wants to now, because there's just so much, so many illegal aliens crossing the river over there. When President Trump was in office, and even before President Trump was in office, we never needed any of that Constantino wire that's down there now. We didn't need those cargo carriers that are down there now. The reality, because the reality was, Frank, is that these illegal aliens, the majority of them were getting returned or deported. And now they're not. They're not. And again, we're seeing over, I think, over 90% of them are being released, or my sources are telling me. And the sad thing, and the scary thing is, and agents have been telling me, Frank, the scary thing is that a lot of the illegal aliens that are being released are single adult males.
Yeah.
Right?
And so, that kind of points to a bigger issue. We got folks watching from across the country here. Do your diligence at your end. Do the work at your end, folks. And what I'm talking about is, research. Look at crime statistics. Look at the resources that your communities are having to, divert and dedicate to deal with this, onslaught, to deal with this injection of people into your communities, what it's costing you, whether it's in social services, law enforcement, other types of support services, infrastructure, the housing, how is it impacting your housing? I was talking with a lady from Houston who was telling me, that the dynamics, the demographics of her, a neighborhood or complex has changed.
Yeah.
And it's not that, people say, oh, here we go down this xenophobe road. That's not what we're talking about, people. What we're talking about here is, the vetting process that's taking place is not as comprehensive. They do the biometrics, they do the facial, yes, they do the name checks and everything. But because we're not doing it in an orderly manner, a controlled flow manner, there's gonna be people that fall between the cracks.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
the other thing I wanted to talk about, that brings to mind something is I'm running to get on the ballot as an independent. So what I'm doing is I'm out of here with this. I've got a petition that I've been circulating, and so on that petition, what I'm trying to do is gather signatures from persons that are registered to vote that did not vote in the March 1 primary here in District 23, registered voters that did not vote March 1 here in this district. But I'm trying to get on, obviously, as the independent, because our Republican in name only, Tony Gonzalez, is a infiltrator. He's a George Soros puppet, a LULAC puppet. But I read an interesting article from the Democrat opponent, who is John Lida. He's a Marine from San Antonio as well. And so right off the bat, San Antonio, like Tony Gonzalez, they're the uni party. They have a big uni party there. That it's a big establishment. Both sides of the aisle, they're all working together. And so Mr. Lita, I'm sure by now realizes that he's not going to get support from some of the power structure within the Democrat Party because they have in place
Yeah.
an efficient Democrat named Tony Gonzalez.
Who gets support from the Republican side.
He gets support from the Republican side, but he's playing it up well with the Bexar County Unit Party Democrats as well, LULAC as well in San Antonio. And think about this, Manny. Back when Gina Jones Ortiz, whatever her name is, Gina Ortiz Jones, whatever, was running against Tony Gonzalez, they made it a big deal. You know, they helped her to try to beat Hurd, then they helped her to try to beat Tony.
Right.
But now that Tony is in office, he has been so efficient. He's a great Democrat. He's a good socialist, you know, by allowing all these people to come into the country, doing everything he can to open up the pipeline to bring in more people. He's too good for them. Why are they going to get rid of him if he's being effective for them?
And if you look at it, you don't see any Democrats coming against Tony Gonzalez.
They're not coming against him. And so, but what John Lita talked about was that he's definitely against the leaked information, Roe v. Wade. He said he's definitely against that. He is pro-abortion, you know, 100%. Which we've talked about disturbing aspects of it, how it's starting to evolve now into, you know, weeks, months, and you know, I wouldn't doubt already that they're already floating 8 years after your child is born.
Yeah, they're already floating that idea on the West Coast over there in California. They're already floating 8 weeks after birth
that you can abort a child. That's 2 months, folks. So anyways, he's for that. And then the other thing he talked about, specifically related to what we're talking about here, Title 42. He says that, you know, he's for lifting it, but that it should be lifted gradually so that DHS can, you know, prepare for the onslaught, the human tidal wave that's going to come across. So there you have it, folks. In November, you will have a choice between a lift Title 42, kill the babies 2 months out after birth Democrat. You'll have a socialist, LULAC, Soros supporting Tony Gonzalez, who's really a Democrat in the Republican Party. But I say it, he supports socialists and he supports George Soros, globalists, and we have the proof for that.
Well, even being part of the LULAC, bro, which is a socialist organization. I mean, my goodness, you know. And then he voted for the January 6th commission. That right there, once he did that, I thought, oh my God, this guy is a huge traitor to our country.
Yeah, he is. And even Donald J. Trump Jr. talked about, you know, what that would mean for conservatives, for President Trump, of course, but for conservatives, and we know it. We know that there are good American patriots that went up to D.C. as part of a patriotic pride, you know.
Yeah.
But we all thought, you know, we all know that it's our freedom to assemble. And anyways, a bunch of them wound up in jail, and they're issuing subpoenas of people all across the country that have.
I believe some are still.
There's still people in jail.
Wow.
So that's going to be the choice in November, man, and that's why I'm working hard, man. It's, you know, after we're done with this conversation, I'm going to go out and do what I've been doing, gathering signatures, talking to fellow Texans in this district, register to vote that did not vote in the March 1 primary. And thanks for putting that out there, bro. I just want to encourage you people. Look, there's fighters like me. There's fighters out there that want to get involved in whatever capacity. I mentioned Ray and Wyatt. They're doing their part. You got your citizen journalists. I mentioned, you know, Jesse Perales, who's out there doing his part, videotaping this. We got definitely other candidates like Dr. Tim Wesley and Raul Reyes, who are engaged in not just a political, you know, election, folks, but this is a fight for the survival of Texas. So you're in Senate District 24, or you know, you live in Texas, Dr. Tim Wesley, Raul Reyes, those are a couple guys that you definitely need to vote for, and do your part and get engaged. And
I think, real quick, I don't even interrupt, but you know, before I forget, just a lot of people don't realize that land commissioners are pretty important.
It is, bro, because
role, right?
Part of that money goes to the education system, man.
Wow.
And so that's critical. We know what they're trying to do to our children, what they have done to our children. They continue to do to our children. CRT and all kinds of radical, you know, agenda that's being taught to our children. And sadly, it affects families everywhere, folks. Whether you're a godly Christian home, you're a conservative home, you're a patriotic home, children are affected by this radical agenda of the left and the various different forms that it takes. I mean, look at how many kids and college campuses think that socialism is a good thing. Don't even know what the Holocaust was.
Yeah, don't even know what the Holocaust is.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of different stuff like that, folks. And so, you know, I hope that this is eye-opening to you. The images that Manny threw up for you, you know, the information that I got and fixing to post on my website, Frank4CD23, Frank4CD23. Go to it. You know, we're going to have that up and running here real soon. And we will have the case against Tony Gonzalez. We're going to outline what we call his sins, you know, against conservatives, against the Constitution. And really, honestly, look, against God himself, Manny, because, you know, we talked about this, bro. Once you started green lighting this invasion, you started saying, hey, it's okay to come over, you know, even if it's going to break our system, even if it's going to overwhelm our border patrol agents, even if it's going to, you know, just snap the back of, you know, of our capabilities, come on over anyways. We knew that that was going to not only green light people to come over, you know, encourage them and entice them, but it was also going to be a green light for the cartels.
Yep.
You know, and so folks, look, let's not forget, let's not lose sight of the women and children, men that are being murdered, raped, robbed, pillaged, assaulted, you know, taken into captivity, you know, targets for sexual slavery.
Yeah.
And it's because of people like Tony Gonzalez, Biden, Mayorkas, who have blood on their hands and continue throwing money at the problem instead of getting to enforcement of the laws we have on the books. And that's what our elected officials should be pushing for. That's why I'm glad people, you like Chip Roy and others are talking about impeaching Mayorkas, impeaching Biden. You know, they're also floating other legislation that is important. You know, a Louisiana congressman and another Tennessee floating bills to continue with border security infrastructure. We just sent $40 billion to the Ukraine. Remember, all Trump wanted was what, $25 billion to continue building, you know, part of the infrastructure here. And people say, well, what good is defense? When you have the infrastructure along with the policy, then those are effective tools. Those are effective mechanisms to protect the country, protect our sovereignty, and to keep our communities safe.
Yep, and you know, people would ask me, well, was the wall effective? Yeah, it was really effective. You know, because it acted as a force multiplier for us. Yep. You know, but right now it doesn't even do that. Nothing. All this Constantino, all this Constantino wire, all these cyclone fences. You know, continue building up a wall right now because there's no enforcement of any border patrol policy whatsoever, and everybody's being released. They don't care, you know, they don't care. And, you know, I was just reading the other day, I think the day before yesterday, there in El Paso sector, I think the headline was El Paso agents have abandoned patrolling because they're processing, right? So basically it's wide open over there in El Paso sector. And you got Juarez across the river there, which is one of the largest border cities, you know, along the Rio Grande River. And so, folks, this is a travesty. Once this Title 42 is lifted, we're going to see a lot worse, you know, what's coming across, because they're not going to be able to vet everybody. They're having a hard time vetting people coming through right now, you know, and so we're gonna suffer greatly.
Yeah, bro. It's look. It may seem like all doom and gloom, but as believers in the Word of God, believers in His Son, in the end we win. But in the meantime, we got to fight.
Yeah,
we got to fight for our state. We got to fight for our nation. We got to fight for our way of life. We have to fight for our children. We got to fight for our future. I want to give a shout out real quick. I see Sheena Rodriguez is on board here. Sheena lives in the Dallas area. But she's been a guest of our show here, and she's been to the border many times. And she does it, folks, not to come down here and take pictures, you know, but she comes and she interacts with landowners, with officials, with the law enforcement, with other people like us.
Yeah.
But she interacts. Why? Because then this is a key component. She goes to Austin, folks, and she talks to legislators, and that's what we need. So Sheena, if you guys go look at the comments, you'll see Sheena Rodriguez there. Hey, Sheena, feel free to throw your page on here, throw your comment, your link there.
And that's on your Facebook page, right? The U.S. Border Patriot.
Oh yeah, I've got that going on. I'm sorry, on Frank Lopez Jr. U.S. Border Patriot. But yeah, if you're on my page, go look for Sheena Rodriguez, and Sheena, please post in the comments your website so that people know about what you're doing, your efforts to interact with our legislators. As she goes and talks to the elected officials themselves, their chiefs of staffs, their office staff. She's out there as a proponent for our legislative priorities for border security. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to the good people. Look, it's not just two of us, folks. There's many of us.
Yeah.
And as our, our motto on the dollar says, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. We are many, but we are one. We are Americans here. We are Texans. And so it takes all of us working together, to accomplish the mission being, let's keep our homes safe. Let's keep our nation safe. Let's defend, protect our sovereignty, and let's keep our communities safe. Let's leave our children, my God, a good future. And so it's going to take, work by many. Don't become complacent. Don't get lazy. Don't stick your head in the sand. Don't ignore the problem. Research, find out, connect with others, and if there's no groups in your area, then start it up yourself, folks. You as American citizens have an obligation, a responsibility, a solemn duty to hold your government accountable and to demand transparency. And believe me, the moment you do, you become a target. But hey, guess what? If God is for us, who can be against us?
In the reality too, Frank, is the United States government was set up on those principles, right? That it would be governed by the people.
By the people, bro.
By the people, not by some tyrannical leader, dictators. It's the United States government is unique in the world because it was a government set up for the people. To be governed by the people. And so this, we can do a whole show on that as well.
That would be awesome.
But folks, we got to get going. I just want to encourage you to visit our website as well, tacoboutalive.com. You can go there, email us, look at download the podcast as well. That's going to be available to you here later on this afternoon. You can rewatch the videos as well. Email us with any comments, questions, or concerns. Also, I just want to go real quick. Go to Frank's page as well, Frank for CD23. He's trying to get on the ballot to run for Congress here in District 23 against the RINO, Tony Gonzalez. Get out there, support him. And then if whatever district you're living in, congressional district, Senate district, get behind the right candidate, vet them, support them, back them, donate directly to them if they, any financial needs come up or anything like that. But folks, we want to encourage you to continue to fight the good fight. We want to give a shout out also to our fellow Truth Tellers, HX Radio. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. Old Patrol headquarters as well. Thanks, Gil, as well. Thank you to Jesse Perales for providing that footage for us. We really appreciate that, Jesse, and keep fighting the good fight over there. And there's also some people there in Carrizo Springs, Pete Bettis that's helping out, that's getting a lot of information out there. And folks, we want to continue to kind of bring you these images and this information, not just so we can we can hear ourselves talk, but we need to get information out there, and we need to prevent this from becoming normalized and because this is not the American way of life.
Yeah, folks. That's part of the continuum they put you on, folks. They desensitize, they normalize it. They legitimize it, legalize it, and then it's just before you know it, you're cooked.
Yep.
You're cooked.
Yep. So, folks, I want to thank you so much for joining us here this morning on Taco Tuesday. God willing, we'll be here next week, here in Del Rio, Texas, with Taco About It Live with Frank and Manny. So I want to say until then, God bless you, God bless America, and God bless Texas.